I'm Allie. I came out after 20 years of marriage and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melissa and I have 2 kids and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles. Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles. Why are you looking at me like that?
So,
Did I do something wrong?
no, I don't know. I'm half
Listen,
asleep.
When
Not
you
gonna
first
lie.
started having that what do you call it? Candy cane? I
Mm-hmm.
thought you were vaping and I'm like, I can't, dude. I
Uh-uh.
cannot do it. And I
I'm not
literally was like,
vaping.
am I going to say something? I'm definitely saying
Yeah.
something.
If I start vaping, you should definitely say something to me about what an
Um,
idiot I am.
Wow. So how's it
No
going?
offense to those that are vaping. I know
No, I
it
know
helps
I know a
some
few
people cope with
vapors.
things, but
Few
not
vapors
my
out there.
not my thing.
No, but
This is a candy cane
it really
because
did for a second appear like a vape.
my throat hurts a little bit. So
Whenever I have pretzel sticks, I pretend I'm smoking. It's like a whole thing I do. I do it every single time. Everyone's like, we're so over it. But it's like now I've done it so long, it's like a thing. Like I can't
you don't
not
do the
it.
walrus
Like I just
teeth
no,
instead?
I just do the smoking a cigarette. I dab it like I'm doing the ashes.
You're dabbing it like the
I'm just like
incorrect
talking.
way. You're dabbing it like you have a Corolla DeVille cigarette.
Exactly, but it's a pretzel stick.
Oh my God.
I don't even notice I'm doing it anymore.
That's hilarious. It's a habit.
It's a
See?
habit. It's like an oral fixation. Smoking
Remember
stick.
candy cigarettes?
Hell yeah. They
I
really
thought I
do
was the
smoke.
coolest.
I did too. My parents would get them for me. I think about that now. I'm like, I can't imagine buying my kids candy cigarettes. I probably would, but
Do
I
they
just
still
think it's
sell that?
funny. Yeah, they still sell them at any of those old time candy stores.
Oh,
There's
like
one
the
in Decatur,
novelty candy
actually.
stores.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Those are the best.
My kids would be like, never in a million years want to do that.
I know. My kids always want the messiest, sloppiest candy. What's the thing where you have the sugar stick and you dip it in the powder?
Fun dip? Oh my
Fun
God,
dip.
that stuff's
Fun
fantastic.
dip. That's always what they want. Whenever we stop somewhere, I'm like, anything but fun dip.
Is that messy?
Hell fucking yeah, it's messy. The powder's everywhere. It gets a little wet, then it's sticking to the thing, then it's on my seat. Can't handle it.
Oh my God.
Can't handle it.
My kids just aren't that messy. But
No, I know. I know they're not. I've spent time with them. I wonder if when they leave my kids, they say stuff like, wow.
I don't think they've been around your kids enough.
Have they ever? Surprised if they don't. Like, I guess I don't know. My kids are kind of wild, loud. Like I was thinking about it. We were at Ponce City Market over the weekend and we were up on the rooftop and I was watching like other families and like mine. And it's just like, we don't look, it's insanity. They're going 50 ways. I mean, it's like literally insanity compared to other people. I'm like, you guys have no idea.
It's the pack mentality. You get more than 2,
Yeah.
and then it's like all over. It's like Lord of the Flies.
It was Lord of the Flies. It was Lord of the Flies. And my oldest is there and she's like thinking she's just going to like saunter up to the bar and get a cocktail. I'm like, dude, you're on right now. You're one of the adults. You better go chase down your brother.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. She's what, 19?
She's yeah.
I would be terrified to go order a drink at a bar underage.
Well, she's not. I don't know what to say.
She is your daughter, so not
She
surprising.
walks up there like she owns the place. I will say that one time in New York, when she first got to New York, they went to a bar right near where they lived and they got their IDs taken. And the guy was like a total dick and was like, scared her. Like that rattled her for a minute where she wasn't quite as like ballsy as she normally would be.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's what it is.
Send her down to spring break. She'll get a lesson real fast when they get on the megaphone and yell at her for
Do they
having
really?
a fake ID.
How do they know though? Like these IDs are legit.
Well, now, like back then, it was just like they would shine a light on them and stuff like that. Now they have like a scanner to
Really?
actually tell. Yeah.
Okay, well, I wonder how she's doing it.
Like Panama City Beach. I don't know how spring break is there now, but years ago, they ran that place. Like they knew they were going to be arresting kids like all weekend. They had makeshift jails set up in empty parking lots so that they could like arrest these kids and like put them in the jail, hold them for a little bit, process them, and give them a like court date the next day, like run them through the whole system in like 24 hours.
Wow. Okay, so here in Atlanta, in at least where we are, there's like this underground ID ring that we have no idea who these people are, but the parents all know. But the kids order these IDs and they come in like a stuffed animal or in you won't like, you think you open this gift and you're like, oh my God, what is it? And then you realize it's a container holding the ID. And then they give you several. So you send the money. I remember when they were doing it, they were like, we have no idea. We hope this is legit. And like, we get IDs. It's not cheap. So you send the money and then comes the stuffed animal or whatever it is in the mail. Then you bust it open and they give you 3 IDs. So you can lose, you can get caught twice.
So you can get them caught. Okay.
Yeah.
Because most of the time when they catch you, they just take the ID.
They take the ID. And so then you're screwed. So that they give you 3. So it's like you have 3 lives, basically, to go out and do the thing.
Have I told you what my trick used to be?
What?
I would hold my driver's license and place because I was born in November, I would place I can't really do it on this license. The way they used to be, it was like I could place my finger over the first one and it would look like January. And yeah,
and nobody ever thought anything of the way you were holding it?
I did it so many times. And then so technically I'm buying myself like 10 months of being 21.
Hell yeah.
And then one day I'm like trying to get into the bar in Milledgeville and the bouncer, he takes it out of my hand and he looks at it. He's like, I thought you've been doing this. Yeah. But then he still let me in.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Because he's like, now you're a regular. Now you're a regular.
How are they going to let me in now?
I actually took my sister's information. My sister was 3.5 years older than me. So I actually, this is like insane looking back. I actually went to the DMV with the documents, the real shit. So I got my picture on her info.
Wow.
I know. Right.
Holy shit.
I know.
I was be saying this on a podcast. That's like
right. Oh my God. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Oh my God. When I turned 21, I gave my ID to a friend of mine. And at the time I had blonde hair, so did my friend. And so she used the ID for a while. And then a bouncer again in Milledgeville took the ID one night. He looked at it. He's like, I know Melissa.
What?
Yeah.
Oh God. And she was
like a year after I graduated. And she was like, and he just took it. I'm like, I think he still let her in, but he took the ID.
Wow. For like how I am now, like I'm very like rule following and I don't do anything. I go to bed early. I wake up same time every day. I was bad. Like looking back, like I've spent the night in juvenile, like jail for kids when I was in high school. And my parents almost like didn't come get me. I ran from the police and got chased.
I mean, I've run from the police, but they didn't take me anywhere.
Oh, they caught me.
Oh my God.
I mean, I used to be so bad. I don't know what changed.
That's wild.
Little Catholic.
I know. I mean, that's probably part of what was playing the role there is like the Catholic strict upbringing. You rebel.
Very, very strict.
I don't know. I would say I used to get in trouble a lot. Now I get a lot more freaked out about it. Like, me and Marina, we took Charlie into Lenox Mall a couple weeks ago. And I was like terrified because we walk in and it clearly says on the sign, no dogs.
No dogs.
And Marina's like, just go. Like, I'll carry her. No one's going to say anything. And I'm like on the lookout for security guards, like left and right. Like, there's one over there. Like, turn and like trying to hide her and all this stuff. And then we walk directly past a security guard. And I like literally fade into the background. Like I'm
not even
distancing myself from Marina. I'm like ready to just like throw her.
Oh my God, throw her to the
wolves. I'm like, I wasn't involved.
No, what is that? That's hilarious. What the hell were you doing at Lenox Mall?
That's a great question. It's a very risky. That's probably the riskiest thing I've done lately. We went there on my birthday because the gift that Marina had gotten me, I already had something really similar. So,
I just saw on the news that 2 and right here down in town Atlanta got their bulldogs stolen at gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's what I'd
It's
be scared
terrifying.
of with little Charlie.
Well, you know, that's kind of funny. Like when we were going, Marina was like, we'll just leave Charlie in the car because we won't be in there long. And I was like, no way. Like they're
Yeah.
going to steal that
She'll
dog
be
in a
gone.
heartbeat.
Yeah.
And once I said that, she was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, no
The
way.
only time my car has ever been broken into was at the Bloomingdale's parking lot.
In Lennox, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, is that
believe it,
Phipps or
man.
Lennox? Yeah, that's Lennox. Lennox. Yeah.
Well, both Phipps is just as scary.
Is it?
Like,
I still go to
I think
Nordstrom over
so.
there.
I have not been to Lennox in years until the other week.
I don't know.
I prefer my safety in the
No,
suburbs.
last time Owen was there, he said this was a couple years ago, but there was like a really loud boom that everybody thought was a gunshot. I don't know whether it was or not, but he said people were like running and like hiding.
Man.
And I don't think it was, or maybe people thought it was, but it was like mistaken. And I just was like, oh my God.
I can see that happening. Like I would feel like on high alert in that situation. Yeah. Better safe than sorry.
I know, right? Well, we had so many messages on the heartbreak, the getting over exes, the getting over a broken heart, that we felt like we needed to get back into it.
Yeah, I think this really resonates with a lot of people because I mean, we do talk a lot about like the heartbreak that comes with divorcing your husband and then like that first catalyst relationship. But I think, as we go through the process and date people, it's like these heartbreaks that we experience now are so painful and so like new
and scary and like
scary. I think it's good that people are willing to like share what helped them to get through it because no one teaches you how to recover from a breakup.
No.
So this is needed for sure.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
All right. This person suggested the book Anxious Hearts.
Okay. And I actually downloaded it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I haven't started it, but I know I'm going to like it.
I wonder if it's kind of about like attachment theory kind of thing.
Which go into that a little bit, like with anxious attachment.
Well, and this is again something that I didn't know about until like a few years ago, like that people have different attachment styles, and it's not like you have the same attachment style in every relationship either. Like, I think that's the biggest thing to realize is like you can be different in each relationship that you're in. I've been all four. So the four attachment styles are secure, which means like you're good, like you're both on the same level. Like that's the best one to be, right? The other is anxious, the other is avoidant, and the other is fearful. I don't really know, like fearful and anxious, like those both kind of seem the same to me. And I feel like they can also kind of like overlap,
Right.
Well, and I've heard of anxious avoidant too. Like that's a big one. And like not realizing that you are having any of these attachment styles can be like pretty like self-destructive too. And I think sometimes they're also triggered by certain things that are happening in the relationship. Like maybe your partner's really busy at work and they're not paying you as much attention. And so it triggers that anxious and fearful in you.
Like your mind starts to go to what are they really doing? Are they,
are they really working?
Or they don't like me enough to come home. They just would rather be doing that. Yeah.
There's a lot of books out there on attachment styles and attachment theory. I think the biggest one, it's called Attached, but then this one says Anxious Hearts. So, learning more about kind of like the ins and outs of your relationship. Like, so, let's say you're broken up and you're looking for answers, like doing research on this kind of stuff can really, really help you to take the blinders off, get some answers about what really was happening in the relationship, help you kind of like dissect it. Like for me, that's what I want to do. It's like figure out like what went wrong.
Yeah. Where am I in this? Yeah.
Where am I in this?
But like, what's my part?
Yeah. Like, how do I grow from it? Okay. This is a podcast suggestion. Podcast is called Jillian on Love. And Jillian is spelled Jillian. I have not heard of that one.
I saw that one too. And I actually started that podcast and then they recommended a book. I believe it was that one called Codependent No More. And they were saying basically that's like a Bible for so many people. I think Brene Brown had recommended it at one point, but I started remembering all the times I've heard that title. And so I think that's a book I'm going to listen to as well that I heard on that Jillian podcast.
I mean, if Brene Brown says it.
I know, come on, it is the Bible.
Brene Brown could tell me to jump off the bridge and I'd be like, okay.
Okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Another book recommendation, Becoming the One. I'm going to butcher this name by the author. Shalana Ayana. There's another book called The Journey from Abandonment to Healing by Susan Anderson. We had another Susan Anderson book recommended in the last episode.
Okay. So that
and just a note too for you guys, I did put links to like the different podcasts and books and stuff that were recommended in the previous episode. So they're like easy to find if you look in the little like show notes on the podcast.
This translates too to like, you could do the thing we talked about where you go get yourself a coffee, sit at a bookstore and read the first 5 pages of several of these books and see which one brings you peace.
Yeah. I thought that was a really cool idea. That sounds like a good like thing to do, especially when you are in that like thick of the breakup, you're lonely, you need to get out of the house, you need to do something.
Totally.
And you don't have anybody to hang out with. Like that's a perfect thing to do alone.
And it is like, you can do it alone. It's this beautiful, different, like I was feeling down not that long ago when I was in New York, this a few months ago, but I remember thinking I did kind of that. It wasn't like necessarily like a Barnes and Noble, but it was like a little book place and they didn't have a huge selection, but I still felt myself finding peace. I just found a big armchair and I grabbed like 4 books. And I killed 2 hours, but I also left there with a book that I was excited to read that night because it just gave me a tool. You feel better when you're moving and not just sitting in. Like if you just keep doing the next right thing, sometimes, it's nice to have something that night, even like you did that during the day. And then that night you're going to bed and you're starting to feel anxious. You can pull it out.
That can be the one thing you do that day. The one thing you do to get out of the house.
Yeah. Keep moving the chains.
This is reminding me of, there's an episode of Friends where Ross is on sabbatical. And so he's like at home bored. And he tells Joey, he's like, I've already been to the grocery store today. I've been to the bank, the post office or something. And Joey's like, you just named a whole week's worth of activities.
I know, exactly.
You did all of that in one day.
One day.
Like,
That's
the key
hilarious.
here is to spread it out.
Yeah, you can't use all your stuff at once.
Yeah, like
That's
allow
true.
yourself some like moping time.
Right,
and
right.
One thing to do that day that is towards your healing. Another book is Lighter by Young Pablo. We've gotten this suggestion a lot, the exercise thing. I think that is like I said in the last episode, like I just wanted to feel my heart beating,
Yeah.
So I'm like going on a run.
And like sometimes like if you go to a gym, I remember when I was going through my divorce, I belonged to a gym and I would go and do my workout, but then I would take a magazine as like my after workout thing. And I would sit in the sauna with my magazine. And
really,
it sounds so dumb, but it did a little, but I would just do it anyway. And I remember like thinking I really looked forward to sitting in there. And that was something, I don't know, that it like was 15 to 20 minutes of just feeling good. And then it's also when you get out of the sauna, you look glowy for a while. So it's like, I felt good about how I looked.
Yeah.
That was something I always did, like ritualistically, when I was helping my kids in the daycare.
Right. Exactly. I used to do that all the time. I would put them in a daycare and then walk on the treadmill.
Exactly.
Like watching Netflix.
Watch TV for 2 hours.
This is my break. We got another recommendation for the Abandonment Recovery Workbook. I think that's the one by Susan Anderson.
And it is true. Like if you're for me, my abandonment stuff comes from, I'm the child of an alcoholic, and typically kids who grow up with an alcoholic, they have abandonment issues. And my mom, I always say this is amazing. She hasn't had a drink in years. I don't even remember the last time, but during, a critical part of my upbringing, my mom drank. And one thing that I learned in therapy was that a partner that's unpredictable, like if there's ups and downs with mood or like you can't predict what they're going to do, is not a good match for me because I need stability. I need predictability. I don't want you to come home and your voice is kind of different and I'm worried about how you're going to be because I already have anxiety around that. And I already have anxiety about abandonment. And so that took me a long time to realize that like a good match for me is very stable.
100%.
Predictable.
And I want to point out too, like that one of the biggest things that's helped me in recent years is I used to really gloss over my childhood and be like, nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
Like my parents were present. They're still married today. We had everything we needed. And I've realized that despite all those needs being met, it doesn't mean that like there wasn't little bits and pieces of trauma happening.
Of course.
Each child, their experience is their experience. You know, some are very traumatic and awful. Some might just have little bits and pieces in there that like sucked and were scary.
Yeah.
So I think that people should not gloss over like having a good childhood, relatively good childhood, is like a reason to not do this work.
It's so true. It's so very true. There's always something there. Our kids are going to have something. I know. I laugh at mine. Like they were home and I joke about it. I'm like, how am I like destroying your mental health?
I think this all the time.
Exactly.
All the time.
Right.
Like it'll be the most minor thing too. Like I dropped the kids off a little late at school today. So they were on time, but they didn't have the normal like 20 minutes to kind of get settled in. And Kaylin's over there like panicking. And I'm just like, this is it.
Oh my God.
This is what she's going to be pissed about.
Right. This is it. She's going to
go.
My
mom had to work and she couldn't get
And they do remember like they act like one thing is like the story of everything.
Yeah.
Like sometimes Reed will do that where it's like one time I did something and he'll be like, and please don't do that again. And I'm just
I
like,
know.
But the other time, dude.
I've probably told you about the time that I took the kids to Dolly Parton's like water park in Tennessee. And I'm like stoked because I love a water park.
Random shit. Oh my God.
Dollywood.
Oh.
You want to know the real reason why I went there?
Why?
Because I wanted to see the Titanic exhibit. There's like a big, huge Titanic museum. That's my real driver for going. But while we were there, I was like, let's go to the water park. I love water parks. Well,
I hate water parks.
Now I don't feel the same way. It had been a long time since I've been there. But I forced Brecken to get on this water slide that I was like, once you get on it, you're going to love it. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, losing his shit. And it was one of those situations, like looking back, I'm like, I should have just like been like, okay, we don't have to do this. Because he was truly losing it. But in my head, I was like, it won't be that bad. He'll enjoy it.
He'll love it. And then he'll want it to go again and again.
This was like borderline roller coaster water slide. Like it was like up and down, up and down, he was like freaking out. Big, huge drops. He was pissed. And he was only like 7. And I'm like, this is it. This is what he's going to need to see a therapist about one day. Well, we were just talking about it a couple weeks ago. He has no memory.
Really?
No memory of it at all.
Oh my God. Why did you even tell him? You could have like let that one
Well,
slide.
I did downplay it after that.
Holy shit. That reminds me, when I was little, we had a houseboat and I remember my dad threw me off the roof because I was scared to get in. And I think he was just, I don't know why, or I was scared to jump maybe. I don't remember, but he literally tossed me off the roof of the houseboat. What? And it was fun. It did end up being fun, but it reminded me of so many other times. He's like, and I love my dad, like he rocks, but it reminded me of so many times that he did like, he bought me a car when I turned 16 that had a stick shift, but I didn't know how to drive it yet. And I thought he was going to like teach me. And he just said, see you at home. Like you'll figure it out.
Oh my God.
And I did.
You bunny hopped home.
Yeah, so it is very much like the story of my childhood. But yeah, Brecken would have freaking died if he had my dad for a dad.
No way. Oh my God.
He was probably like, I'm going to give you 3 seconds.
Baby.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I know. I think about that all the time. Like, even when I tell my kids now, I'm like, I can't do a holiday. Like, you need to marry orphans. I tell them all the time, you're just going to marry an orphan and then there'll be more family.
An orphan.
And I make them like promise they're not leaving ever.
Good luck with that.
I know, right?
Another journal that I would recommend that I've been doing is the shadow work journal. There's a few different ones on Amazon, like around like $18 each. It's not like anything crazy, but
Okay.
it's just kind of like like the abandonment recovery workbook. It's like prompts to get you to kind of like dive deeper
Ooh,
into
I like
yourself
that.
and yeah,
Yeah.
like asking you questions, kind of a guided journal, I guess, if you're not good at just sitting down and writing your feelings. It's
Do you
really
ever feel
helpful.
like, Melissa, that's like sometimes I'll feel like really scared or panicked or like anxious. And then, like, even just a few hours later, I feel like totally at peace and hopeful. Like,
Yeah.
it can fluctuate even in the day,
Hmm.
like I'll be like, oh my God, the sky's falling. And then a
Yeah.
couple hours later, I'm like, I actually feel really good right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. It does like come and go. There are days though where it's like, okay, I just need to go to bed because this is
Yeah,
like
this is not
weighing
good.
me down
I'm
so
heavy.
much.
Yeah.
I need to pop some melatonin
Oh yeah. I did it
and go
last
to
night. I took
bed.
a Tylenol PM.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm really getting bold with my drugs.
I know when my sister was here, she's like, "Oh, I took Ambien last night." I'm like, "Jesus."
Ambien.
Like, did you drive my car?
Wait, is Ambien's like a step beyond Tylenol PM, right?
Oh, well beyond. I've never taken it, but that's the one that like people will like not they'll like sleepwalk and not realize they'll like
Hmm.
drive, they'll eat like a whole cake, like
I
that kind of
don't
stuff,
remember. Okay.
and don't remember
Well, I will say, like, I never woke up.
as far as you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, as far as I know. But I mean, it
Better
was like
check
really nice.
the ring camera.
I normally wake up at 3 o'clock almost every night.
Hmm.
That's my time. And someone told me once that there's like studies out there. If any of our listeners have heard of this, tell us or come on, because I'm fascinated by it. But like, depending on when you wake up in the night is like a different either system in your body or physical or emotional thing that's like triggered a certain number of hours into the night.
Hmm.
That makes sense. So for me, it's like 3 a.m. Almost always I look at the clock, it's 3:05, 3:02, and I'm up and I'm like a little anxious and like hard to get back to sleep.
For me, like I always wake up in the middle of the night, but it varies as to like how early I went to bed. Like I went to bed last night at like 10 o'clock. And so then I woke up at 2 a.m. rather than
Okay.
3. But I thought it was like a hormonal thing.
Okay, maybe. But there's something about like why I might be 3 a.m. and you might be 2 a.m.
Hmm. Can we make it stop?
I know that's Tylenol PM and enter Tylenol PM.
Enter Tylenol PM. Good to know. You know, I was taking ZQuil, which I think is the sleepy ingredient of
Oh yeah, I've
Tylenol
done that. I've
PM.
done that during my divorce. I did ZQL.
But I read that that's like not a great thing to keep taking like on a regular basis.
Okay.
So I stopped. Also, don't combine ZQuil and melatonin at the same time. It'll give you restless legs.
Oh boy. And then you got to do magnesium. Another listener
It's
taught me that.
it
That's
is
actually
not
been,
fun.
I have to say, that's been a game changer.
The magnesium.
Yeah.
Now, which type of magnesium? Because there's like
Oh
two
shit.
types.
I take it either the powder in my drink that right before I go to bed called Calm, and it's like a magnesium, whatever, or I take the capsules
Okay.
in my, like at night, right before I go to bed, I'll just pop it. If I forget and I start feeling my legs, then I mean, Maria has really bad restless leg.
Mm.
I
Does she
kind
do
of
that
do.
combo?
She does just magnesium too. We all do.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there are different types of magnesium for different things. So I would do your research on like which one you should be taking for which ailment you want to cover. Like why are you laughing at me?
Because I'm thinking like it is so funny. Like we have all these things. Like I've got the sleep issue, I've got the restless leg, I've got depending on which ailment I have, I've got to take this. It's
I'm
so
just falling
true.
apart over
I
here.
am.
I mean, I did have my pre-op appointment. I'm having
I know.
surgery
Yeah. How's that?
on Thursday to have a fibroid removed from my uterus. Fun times.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm like having to sit there and do all this like paperwork, blood work, blah, blah, blah. And the nurse kept saying to me, like, you're just so healthy. Like she's going down like the list of ailments. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, don't have that, don't have that. Never really
Right.
even thought about that one. Like, and my blood pressure is really good. And I was just like, I walked out of there feeling like great about myself.
Yeah. You're like, you know what? Maybe I don't need the surgery after
All
all.
right, maybe I don't need surgery. I'm fine. So we had some good recordings last week that we played for you guys of people giving their take on breakups and recovery and that sort of thing. We have one more this week that we weren't able to fit in. So let's take a listen.
Hello, my favorite podcasters. So I am out of it now, but I came out late in life and married my catalyst. We were married for 6 years, and then that ended, and I was completely devastated. I did not take the time to build community when I came out, and so everything was about her. And definitely had to rebuild my life. I had to rebuild my identity. Everything had to change after we split. So I would say the book that helped me the most was Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies by Tara Schuster. This whole book is just really about learning to be there for yourself. And, you know, it goes into her childhood, and she grew up in kind of a not so great childhood. And basically she teaches you how to reparent yourself, how to put yourself first. Anyway, it's so good. Such a game changer. And then beyond that one, I would say Braving the Wilderness with Brene Brown, and then absolutely anything else that Brene Brown writes. But in all honesty, like, not just blowing smoke up your butt, but Finding You Guys changed everything for me. So I would definitely say if anyone's late to finding you, go back and listen to, I don't care what you say, but listen from episode 1, even with the rough recordings. Like, it was a game changer. You guys really gave me the strength to know that I'm not alone, and the strength to know that I should focus on building community. And that's really what I went out and did. I worked on me. I actually contacted Melissa a couple times after I went out, and I just didn't understand how she could do it, because I would go to the bar and just lose all nerve. But just getting out there and doing it and trying to make friends. From that process, I definitely found my person, and I'm in such a good place now that I can't believe I ever thought that I wasn't going to make it. So to anyone who's going through it, just know that the other side of it is so good, but just work on yourself and work on building your community, and everything that you made this decision for is going to find you. Thanks, ladies. Have a good day. Bye.
Oh, I love that.
That was awesome.
Buy the fucking lilies.
Great book suggestion.
I'm
Wonderful
gonna get it.
Compliments. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, that is so sweet. When I hear stuff like that, I'm like, thank God we did it. Like, it was just, it could have gone such a different way. So many things had to happen the way they did. And I'm so appreciative when people say stuff like that.
Absolutely. And I think that's also a good lesson to those that are newly in this, is that, like, you gotta be cautious, and while you're super in love with that catalyst right now, that might not be your person in the end. So you got to kind of prepare yourself for that.
The main thing is just to have a toolbox that you fill with stuff that brings you happiness, whether it's the journaling, the exercise, even just getting out. They say you should, like, have sunlight hit your face before, a certain number of hours after you're up. You shouldn't just be, like, in your dark house working. I think that's another thing of, like, people work from home now. So they end up not leaving until like noon, and they've just been in this like cave.
That's me. Like, I've barely been outside today, just only to take the kids to and from school.
Right. And I think they say, like, first thing you should.
Yeah.
And I do think that's important, especially now that we're all working from home. So it's like you don't get that opportunity. I noticed too, like, some houses have very little light, like they're not bright.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember my Norwood house in Kirkwood before this house.
Yeah.
It's kind of dark.
Yeah.
Like, it was just low ceilings and like a little bit dark. And and it had a front porch that was covered. So I think that also made it dark. And I did notice that, like, when we moved, I was happier. Like, it felt so much lighter in my new house.
It is brighter in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. More sunlight.
Yeah. Bigger windows. And so I think
that does really matter.
It does matter. So if you're in a house that you're not getting a ton of sunlight, go sit outside, or go figure out a way to you sit in a coffee shop that has big windows.
Especially in the winter. Like, we had a really gloomy, I guess it's not winter yet, but a gloomy week last week.
Yeah.
It was like just that overcast every day, little chilly.
Right.
It definitely got like depressing.
Yeah. Right. I think it's important to find things to put in that toolbox so that when you are feeling that way, you have things to reach for. One thing I do is I have a few people, you're one of them, that like if I'm stressed, I'm not uncomfortable saying I need a friend or I need to talk right now.
Yeah.
Like I can be weak, I can cry, I can do whatever I need to do. And I think that's super helpful if it's just even one person. You know, too, I also have my sister who's like very easy, zero judgment on anything. And so it's
And your
just like,
sister's
yeah,
probably too like a good neutral
totally
person.
doesn't, just wants good
That's
things for me. Yeah. So
that's
she's
how I feel
very
about
solid.
my friend Tamra. Like
Yeah.
she has no skin in this lesbian
No, there's
game.
no agenda.
You
There's
know?
no like, right. And so if you just
So
have someone that you can call and say, I need a friend, you know, where can you talk? People
I
want
think it
to
is
help.
hard to like get that vulnerable sometimes, but when you do and you have that like you're saying, like one person that you can do that with, it is so helpful. Like especially if you don't have a therapist on, your therapist
Yeah.
is booked for the next 2 weeks or something like that. So
And sometimes it is a
um
passing feeling. Like I might feel like the sky is falling. I had a conversation with my best friend Sam the other day and I felt really kind of not great. And then she's checking on me a couple days later and I kind of was like, oh my God, yeah, no, I'm fine now. Like so much
oh yeah, I forgot
better.
about that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'm totally fine. But I needed her in the moment. I think too, like somebody mentioned having friends, if are you going to be friends with someone after a breakup and like what does that look like? And I think like Maria feels like you really should just move on. And I haven't been in the game long enough to have that situation come up. My catalyst definitely is not my friend. I wonder like, in this community, sometimes it is much easier to keep your exes as your friends. I mean, obviously you liked them at one time. So how,
Yeah.
what could that look like?
I think that's one of those, like, it's a case by case basis, like I have exes that I haven't talked to in years and I'm
Right.
fine with that, you know.
Right.
Um, but I do feel like, if Marina and I were to like for real break up, I would still want to be her friend.
Yeah.
Because I think when things do end like an amicable way, no one's cheating, blah blah blah, it is a lot easier to be friends.
Yeah.
But I think the
Mutual
key,
friends.
yeah, the key there is the space that happens first. Like I think there has to be a good few months where you just don't speak or barely speak.
Do you think though
And
that you have to get to a place of like you're no longer jealous if they've moved on?
yes, I think
Does
that
that
is
though happen in a couple
really,
months? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe depending on how long you were together and how invested you were in each other, like there might need to be like more distance
right.
there. But the other thing that I really feel strongly about in that situation is blocking the person on social media.
Whoa.
And
Okay.
that seems really harsh, right? But I think if you let them know beforehand, like, hey, I'm going to block you, like, this isn't out of like hate or whatever, but it's just for like my own healing.
Self-preservation.
Yeah, because we can get so obsessive about what the other person is doing. And it's so easy to be like, well, I'm just going to like check their social media, or like you might see that it could be like the most meaningless picture. Like, let's say they posted a picture that they're out at a restaurant having drinks and that you don't see the other person. And like your mind goes bonkers that they're on a date. But really, the other person is like a coworker who doesn't have social media or didn't want to be in the story. So I think it is like just for your own mental health important to block or at the very least mute people in those situations so that
Yeah.
you can go on Instagram. It's really easy. You go to someone's profile, you click on following, and then you can choose to like mute their posts, mute their stories so it doesn't show up in your feed.
And it
Like
is like
you,
a snapshot in time. It's like the other thing to keep in mind is like I've seen pictures posted of us even where I'm like, we look like we're having a blast and it was like depressing and miserable. it's a snapshot in time. So if you see it, you really don't know the sentiment behind it or what was going on. It's so nebulous.
And they're probably trying to look a little extra happy too,
Yeah.
because they know you're looking.
I guess I would say too, like out of kindness and just putting good things in the world, maybe not doing that. Like I remember when I was getting divorced, I carefully I wasn't going to post things that like hurt his feeling.
And like, I never blocked or unfriended my ex-husband in that process.
No.
I might have muted him. I do remember when I changed like from not being married on Facebook, and it like came up with this prompt, and it was like, do you want to
meet someone?
No.
No.
It said, do I need to block him or something like that, or report him or something along those lines? And I was like, whoa, like that's a bit extreme.
A little aggressive.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess most people getting divorced are really pissed about it. So
right.
Maybe
I'm just a big believer in, I believe in, karma, not that it's like this magical thing that really happens. No one's keeping score, but I do believe you reap what you sow and you get back what you give. I've seen it over and over and over again in my own life. And I just know, and I say this to my kids, I'm like, if you want people to root for you, don't be a dick. Don't, be on the soccer field when you get a goal, acting like you're the king of the mountain. Like people rooting for you genuinely, and people root for people that are good. And so I just think like when you're posting or when you're doing anything, don't be that person. Be loving. Think about how you would feel on the other side. You reap what you sow. So
I think that also goes for like posting like passive aggressive quotes on your Instagram.
Like, who is this serving? Yeah.
Read it, save it, like it, whatever, but you don't need to post it to your story because everybody knows who you're talking about.
Exactly. I think that's very, very true. And I think that there's a kindness to that and a classiness. Like there's a classiness to the way you handle that kind of ending.
I think the biggest takeaway too is to not like let this weigh you down. To like you always say to me, get excited. Like
get excited.
There's something new going to come your way. You're going to feel even better the next person.
It's really true.
Like it just take the time to let this person go so that you're not attached when you meet the right person.
That is true. And I think too, like I promise, like we've watched so many people go through this. There will come a time where this sadness and this fear and anxiety is overcome with hope. And when that happens, get fucking excited because lots of good things happen on the other side of that. And so you can't not go through it, but know that that's what's coming.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend.
All right. We'll talk next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandallie@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Allie, ALLI @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.